Yes, indeed. We got a special cast ready to go. Welcome on into the barbershop. I got the heavy hitters ready to go. I told you people on here I was not playing around with y'all. We got the heavy hitters in the building today for the Cleveland Browns versus the Pittsburgh Steelers pregame show. We got Darren Smith from KLKC in Kansas City, covers Patrick Mahomes. He has birthday cake with Patrick Mahomes. He plays golf with Patrick Mahomes. So I told him I had to get him in here. And of course, we got the mouth of the South from Miami right now, just off the golf course. Browns legend Leroy Hoard is in there. Fellas, how you doing today?
Good.
I'm doing better than I was yesterday. Let's put it like that.
Hey, you got up. You should.
Hey,
Well,
Don't take that for granted.
Oh, trust me. Me and my co-hosts, we left the stadium late to get to the airport because Chris Jones and Patrick and all of them came late to the presser. And on the way there, we got involved in a 9-car pileup on the highway to the airport. So I had like 30 minutes to spare to get to the airport and catch my flight. So trust and believe, I'm hurting, but it could have turned out to be a whole lot worse than what it did.
Yeah.
Blessings to you, and we glad you safe and sound out here. Yeah. Leroy, how you doing? You good?
I'm good. It's Pittsburgh, man. And like y'all, and let me tell you, see the way rivalries work, and this is what I do with Ohio State. Every opportunity I get, I'm gonna get them. I have to. It was bred into me by the fine folks of Cleveland, right? Just like the fine folks of Michigan told me about that school down south. But here's the thing. Y'all hear one side of it. So I'm going to tell you a quick little story. When the team moved to Baltimore, we played the Pittsburgh Steelers, right? And, you know, we were young. They beat up on us or whatever. I ran the ball one time. One of the linebackers tackled me. And they said, "You still Cleveland." And I said, "Oh, okay. So that means that I got to carry this to my death." So every time I get a chance, so when I got on that Najee Harris, right, I got on him. I have to. That's what I do. But here's the thing. There is no rivalry if you don't respect the hell out of the other side. There is no organization that does it like Pittsburgh. So let's be clear. Mike Tomlin, name another coach ain't never had a losing record.
It's tough.
Few and far between. And so from that standpoint, some of the players that he has entered a season with, some of the quarterbacks that he has entered a season with, to not have a losing record, I tip my hat off to him. But that's it. It's game time. So let's go.
Let's G. Bush, I got to say, man, it's an honor for me to be obviously on with you, but on with Mr. Leroy Hoard. You know, I used to watch him kind of growing up because I watch a lot of football. Right. I've been covering the NFL since 1993 as a sophomore in high school. So I've been doing this for 30 years. So it's a pleasure being on with him. And trust me, I'll watch ultimately. You know, I watch UCSS every day. So if I don't get a word in, people, this is the reason why.
Hey, you know, so you live in Kansas City. You know who I went to high school with?
Who?
Lonnie Martz.
Okay, yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah. Me and Lonnie, we had a little situation. We was talking trash.
Oh Lord!
And then we finally played him, and he had to guard me, right? And I went 71 yards on him
with the big shoulder pads.
And I ain't care about nothing. After the game, I said, I can't wait till we get back home.
We're going to be rolling with y'all. We're rolling with y'all till about 7 o'clock, man. We got a lot to get to. So let's go ahead and put the agenda. Obviously, it's Browns versus Steelers pregame show. We're going to talk. We're going to get you a chance to get these guys' expert opinion. So if you got questions, Super Chat is available. You'll get an opportunity to ask these guys some questions. And we only may get to one or two because it is Leroy. So we're going to figure out how we're going to move with this.
Come on, man.
We're going to get a couple in. And we're going to get a couple in. Then we get to the keys to the Browns' victory. Interested in see what you guys think on how the Browns go on the road Monday Night Football and get this victory. Does history matter? You kind of jumped off on that before you even started. Does history really matter in this thing to the new guys? And how would you approach this if you talking about the history, if you Kevin Stefanski and talking about getting prepared and ready to play? But first things first, we got to get to the number one topic. Is it Watson's time to shine? You know, Deshaun Watson, this is his first opportunity on Monday Night Football. Played so in the rain. And now people is looking to get the 300-yard games. They kind of fiending for it right now. I'm gonna ask both of you guys, and I'll start Darren with you first. Does Deshaun Watson have to have a big game, blow up game? And moving forward, do they need them to be a 300-yard guy for them to win football games?
For them to be feared, yes. For them to win, no. He just needs to make sure he doesn't turn the football over. Look, for me, he doesn't need to be like Dak Prescott, where you don't want him to have any interceptions. But I do think like tonight would be a good night. And I think it's an important night if he can have a big game because it's on ABC. It'd be different on ESPN. You can get X amount of people that'll watch Monday Night Football to be watching, but you're on ABC, so the whole country has a chance to see. Now, obviously, the whole country's not going to turn in, but if he's to have a big game tonight, not only would that that'll send national media on their computers trying to figure out how we're going to talk about the Cleveland Browns, how we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson without discrediting everyone or without discrediting themselves. I do think it is important. I'm not saying it's the most important game like Jay says, but I do think it is important for him to make, as someone just mentioned, a statement tonight. But if he plays well and what I expect of the defense, he should be able to, to have a 250, 275, and especially if you can do it without Amari Cooper. If you can elevate the other players on your squad to where you're throwing for more than 154 yards, then yes, I do believe that he can have a big game, and tonight should be that game.
Leroy, you talked about it. You got a guy, Nick Chubb, but does Deshaun Watson have to do something big time?
If Deshaun Watson throws the ball a lot, and the Browns aren't successful, we going to say, was it Craig Haywood was out of the game? Why didn't we take advantage of that? And so I'm a firm believer of winning the game that's being played, right? So if that's an opportunity there and you taking advantage of it, and Watson only got to throw 12 passes because you ran for 200 plus, we can't say, oh, he didn't do his thing. You see what I'm saying? However, what I will say is this. It is a chance for Deshaun Watson to show that he is the quarterback of the Cleveland Browns. That means that he's going to play his role, but he's going to do it better than anybody else. That means when there's a play that has to be made, he's going to make a play. If there's not a play and he can turn it into something, that's what you need Deshaun Watson to do. However many yards that ends up being, so be it, as long as it ends up being in a victory. Because I think more than anything, they need to do this, especially with what you have outside right now. You need to make them commit to the run. And Pittsburgh has always been a team that will say, we're going to stop the run. We dare you to throw it. And so that's when Deshaun Watson comes in. You say, you know what? We got Deshaun Watson now. So now what you going to do? And it's going to be a cat and mouse game to see how this is going to play out. But if you eliminate any portion of what you do to try to kind of put somebody up there, then you're asking for trouble. So does Deshaun Watson need to have a good game? He just need to be him, right? Whatever that means. It could mean 200 yards, but they have 350 yards of total offense, 400 yards of total offense. That's a win, right? If they're 50% on third down because he made 3 or 4 pivotal plays during the course of the game, you'll still be able to say at the end of that game, regardless of what the numbers are, we got Deshaun Watson. So you can't go into a game with what the numbers should be to say he had a good game. You just kind of have to watch the game because look, Tom Brady won, was it last year? Patrick Mahomes won the MVP of the Super Bowl, and he had a little over 200 yards passing?
Yep.
But when you watched him, you could see clearly he was the difference in that game. That's what Deshaun Watson needs to be. That's it.
And let me follow up on that right quick because I do agree with Leroy on that point. My point is when I say to have a big game, it's within the flow of the offense. Because look, when I look at that offense, and G and I have talked about this before, it's one reason I wish Kareem Hunt was still on this team. But when I look at the talent, I think back to when Kansas City had, when the Chiefs had Kareem Hunt as a running back and Patrick Mahomes a quarterback, and that was a high-powered offense, but everything was predicated on the run. Now,
Right.
if you get the run game started, obviously you start bringing people up that's going to stop the run, and the next thing you know, you hit them over the top, and then that's where Deshaun is deadly at. Again, for me, everything will always come down to Kevin Stefanski. If he's that boy wonder as a play caller, if he's that that 2020 coach of the year and can scheme those players open and can put the and have to commit to the run game as well. That's something that I had a problem with yesterday in Jacksonville with Andy Reid and the offense. They only ran the ball 4 times in that first half, and then 18 times in the second half. And I asked Patrick about that after the game. So for me, yes, everything is always predicated with me on the run, because once you commit to that, then then you can hit it from all over the place.
Right.
And that defense
Leroy,
as well. It's perfect.
Leroy, you said something on Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show a couple weeks ago, and I've been rolling with it. You said, let's stop acting like Nick Chubb is regular. Like, let's not act like he's some run-of-the-mill running back. It's okay to run through him and then get yours after that, right? It's no problem with that, because if you're going to be, instead of 2 high safeties, you're going to be in single coverage. They're rolling those safeties down in the box. You got an opportunity to work play action off that. You work. They always told me, I used to work on a garbage truck when I was like 16. When an old dude said, "Hey man, you might want to slow your pace down. You got to work smart out here. We got about 300 more houses to go to. You're doing too much. You've lifted the trash cans over the top of your head. No, tip, keep moving." And sometimes you could get your yards. I'd rather get my yards where I don't have to throw in a double coverage, where I could get singled up on matchups. That's where we're gonna go with that, man.
Right. And the other thing is that they over there talking about, TJ Watt, and he's a great player, right? But I'm looking at that right tackle and saying, man, I sure wouldn't mind having him lean on him for a few plays.
Yes.
And then let's see what that pass rush is gonna look like. You see what I'm saying? And so you gotta also, the thing about Nick Chubb in the running game, sometimes you run the ball a lot early, not for right now, but for later. Because you run the ball, you putting that big boy on TJ Watt, and then you run a pass, he like, oh, my legs. I ain't got no legs. So it's all big picture. I hate when coaches, it's like Andy Reid probably yesterday ran the ball 2 times and say, well, we ain't gonna do nothing with this. Let's go Patrick Mahomes. And you got to be patient with it. And the one thing that I appreciated last week was they saw we were having some success running the football. And the conditions were terrible, right? And what the Browns defense did was jam up that run where they had to put the ball in Burrow's hands, and look at what happened to Burrow. You don't want that same situation right now, because you have a running game that far exceeds what Kansas City or Cincinnati can do. And if you don't take advantage of that and use it, you're doing everybody on your team a disservice.
Quickly here, we got 2 super chats we want to get to. Chris King, I think that's how you say it. We appreciate your super chat. Definitely new uniforms, new D, new beginning. Past is the past. Nobody talking about Autogram and Mary Motley at this point. Hopefully, I'm glad we shout out to the veterans. We ain't gonna get me in trouble. Mary Motley is from the hometown. We like him. Keith G says, thank you for the super chat. The Browns will put the NFL on notice tonight. The sleeping giant has awoken. There will be no more Cleveland jokes. We will be respected. Let's go, dogs. Before we get to the break, coming up next in a little bit, we will talk with the perfect person to talk to about it. Leroy led in with it. We're going to talk about the history of the Browns versus Steelers rivalry, and does that play a little small part in what's going on now? If so, why? If not, why not? We'll come back and do that. This is the barbershop edition of the Browns versus Steelers pregame show right here on UCSS. All right, people, let's get to this, man. I got to say thank you to you guys out here. Shout out to those who are Patreons right now. 600 of y'all are in the chat right now. We appreciate the 600 watching live. We want to thank the Patreons that support the barbershop, and we got to go through the people that always do. This will be updated as well coming up here in a couple of days because we do have new Patreon members. We want to shout out Greg Smith, Amari Spence, Robert Norman Sr., Amari Spence again, Bradley Thomas Bruns, Gail Mayo, Spencer Mahone, Aaron Brandon, Russell Edwards, Timothy Tyree, Anthony G. Perry, and Howard Vanisell. Thank you guys so much for becoming a Patreon. If you want to become a Barbershop Patreon, look in the description. You will have a link there as well. And don't forget, if you just, hey, look, we get it. You know what you can do if you don't, do a membership, you ain't gonna do that. Hey, hit us up. Hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. Share this video. It helps us get out to the rest of the community to get our stuff posted. Coming up here in the next break, we'll give you an opportunity to win some of these great T-shirts. Kool-Aid Mafia T-shirts we'll be giving out. We'll give you an opportunity to do that coming up here. We'll keep it locked. It's G. Bush here. All right, let's get right back off into this thing. We talked a little bit about Deshaun Watson. We talked a little bit about what's going on with what he needs to look like today. Now let's go to the history angle. A lot of people are saying the Browns have not finished ahead of the Steelers since 1989, Leroy. When you talk about some of those old school, flat out dog fights that you guys had with the Pittsburgh Steelers in the 90s, what was what were you guys thinking when you played the Steelers twice a year? And does that kind of trickle over? Do you need to have some success in the past to have success in the future necessarily?
Not necessarily, because one of the things I hated about sports, and I still hate it, when they use a stat, so-and-so hasn't won here in 5 years. I'm like, well, the last time they won, nobody was on the team. You're talking about different guys. Why should that have any relevance about what's going to happen today? Right? And they do it all the time. Last time so-and-so won here was 1987. And I'm like, really? Half of these kids wasn't even born. And we still using that as a stat? So what I would say is this. These guys, there's enough guys that played against Pittsburgh enough. There's history there. Y'all don't remember? You remember this situation, right?
Look,
we know.
James Harrison was tightening us up every week,
right? Look, and here's the thing. Here's what I think is different about this now, is that when I played, the Steelers would do this with Bill Cowher. They would run it 35 times, slow the game down, put you in a situation where you felt that you had to make plays. And our quarterback or one of us would make a mistake, and then they get a short field. The games nobody was getting blown out, 22-14, 22-17, so scores like that. But they just bided their time because they knew that at some point we were going to press. But now the shoe's on the other foot, because they're in a position where they don't have that luxury of having a go-to thing. They haven't been able to run the ball well. They haven't really been able to throw the ball well. Defense is struggling up the middle. So now they might have to be a little more aggressive. And what I don't want the Browns to do is fall into that trap, right? Don't give them no free ride, because you in the driver's seat. You have the stable, solid game. You know who you are. Just go out there and be you. They got to chase you right now. Now, in the history of this, I lost to Pittsburgh 3 times in 1 year. So we lost to them in the playoffs the year they went to the Super Bowl. So I know how tough these games are. And I give you another stat. You want to hear a stat? Leroy Hoard has only beat the Pittsburgh Steelers once.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
So when you're talking about that, so when the Browns beat the Steelers, I'm tipping like it's New Year. I'm tipping the drink like it's New Year.
Don't ask Leroy. Don't call Leroy at 2 a.m. tonight.
Yeah, I'm just saying. So that history, here's one thing you have to understand. Here's another reason why everybody in Cleveland hated Pittsburgh. We didn't know how the hell to get there. When we played in Pittsburgh, we took buses sometimes. Sometimes we flew in the wrong damn direction. It took you longer to get from the airport than it took you to drive there. Every time we played Pittsburgh in Pittsburgh, you had to figure out how we was gonna get it. Oh man, are we gonna be on the bus? Oh man, we in the NFL, we taking this 3-hour bus trip, and then Bill would make us sign balls, and then we stop on the highway and switch the balls on the buses. It was crazy. So it was a pain in the butt to get there, right? The proximity of it, I think we're closer to Pittsburgh than any other team. And here's the key factor of all of this. Throughout the history of these games, both teams have normally been pretty good, right?
Yeah.
And so that's what made the rivalry. The rivalry was you ain't going nowhere unless you get through Pittsburgh. Or back when Bernie was playing, Kosar, you ain't getting nowhere if you ain't go through Cleveland. That's just the nature of what makes a rivalry great. When I played with Michigan, you couldn't win the Big Ten without beating Ohio State, right? That's facts. So this thing builds, and then here's the other thing. The stinking fans are so close they can drive to the game, right? You know that. Look, it's not like Miami or LA where these teams use that as a go-away trip and they fly all they super fans out there for a road game. It's Cleveland and Pittsburgh. If you go into one of them games, you are committed, right? You
hardcore. Hardcore.
Exactly.
Darren, let me ask you a question. Out there in the West, you guys, who was your arch nemesis for the Chiefs before
it would be
Patrick Mahomes?
The Raiders,
the Raiders, and then the Broncos. The Seahawks when they used to be in the division before they moved them out, and I guess now But everybody wants to make it seem like it's the Chargers now with little boy wonder out there. But it's the Raiders.
Who's 0-2? Let me just point that out.
Thank you.
Why do some people get a pass and some people don't?
That's a conversation for another show.
That's a whole off the camera conversation, Leroy. Now here's what I'm gonna say. When you guys got how did it change when you got Patrick Mahomes, and then you had went through all them beatdowns with the Raiders, and you saw Elway, and you saw all those guys out there? How did that thing flip for you? And did the fans come along quick, or they was just waiting for the other shoe to fall?
Well, here's the thing. When it came to that, Kansas City had flipped it after. Well, they flipped it with Denver after Peyton Manning had left. But they've had winning records against all those teams. Overall in the overall series. Now, since Patrick has been there, he's never lost to Denver. I think he's only lost to the Raiders once, and that was the fluke at home where they called 2 touchdowns back for the Chiefs the year that they were going to try to repeat at the Super Bowl. And then I think since the Chargers, I think they've only lost to him twice in Patrick's career. So, he's been pretty dominant. Yeah.
So because for me, I don't think people understand that. Yes, you can live off your history, but you can't live off that forever. When these new guys come, all it takes is 1 or 2 people to be like, "Hey, we're not about to do that." And
that's true. That's true. But on our side, not only do you have the talent, but you got the coaching as well. So that that plays a factor. And be honest, management, ownership management. You don't have a lot of infighting. Everybody knows their role. There's been ever since Andy's gotten there, and they put Brett Veach in place, and you got Mark Donovan as president. Everything is just ran like just perfect.
I'm gonna ask both of you this question before we get to break here in about 5 minutes. Who do you think has the coaching edge in this matchup tonight?
I'm here and I'm gonna say this for this reason, because what this man has done in however many years he's been in Pittsburgh. As much as I love the Browns, I gotta respect what Mike Tomlin has done.
Big facts.
And how he's done it. And I'm not gonna sit here and just deny that. Okay. We've seen some of those Pittsburgh teams.
Duck Hodges.
And at the end of the year, and at the end of the year, you see their record, you go, how in the hell did this team not wasn't 5-12?
Band-Aids.
Right.
Crazy.
But that's a good coach. making the most out of whatever. You know what? He ain't never wavered. He don't care who's dressing, who's playing. He coming there with a certain attitude, right? Now, I will say this. Kevin Stefanski is no slouch. There have been times, and you know well, Bush, that I've been on him about certain things that he's tried to do. But I've also given him his credit. I'm gonna tip his hat when I see a move, when I'm watching football, I'm watching at a different level, right? Because I'm watching it as if I was in the game. And when I see a coach make a move or a decision or whatever, right? I'm like, wow, there you go. Like I said with Schwartz in the defense. For 5-6 years, Myles Garrett been lining up in one spot. I'm like, why won't they move him around like all the other great players? And I saw him line up over center, and I got all excited. I'm like, let's go. Let's go.
Let me say this. So I agree with Leroy that, overall, obviously, it's Mike Tomlin. In this particular game, it's going to have to be Kevin Stefanski because, again, the thing is, in this particular game, you got everything, it going in your direction. They had players that are out there. Granted, you're without Amari Cooper. However, you're coming in 1-0. They're coming off of a big loss. This is the time, especially after what Baltimore did to Cincinnati yesterday. This is the time when you have to come out and prove that you deserve to be 2-0, and that last week's win over Cincinnati wasn't just wasn't a fluke, and you're just this is the same old Cleveland Browns. And look, there's a lot of people picking Pittsburgh now because they say there's no way Pittsburgh is going to go 0-2. Well, Kevin Stefanski, now's your chance to prove everybody wrong.
You are 100% correct in that. Is that Kevin Stefanski got a spot to shine, but it don't mean he got to make a whole bunch of ridiculous calls.
No, not at all.
It just means he got to win the game, right?
The pressure is on Stefanski and not Mike Tomlin, because if Mike Tomlin doesn't win tonight, if the Pittsburgh don't, they got excuses built in. Kenny Pickett, you got all these injuries. There's no excuse for
no.
Amari Cooper's out, notwithstanding, but you got Chubb, you got Deshaun Watson. There's no excuse. And I will say this: the smartest thing about Stefanski is that, granted, it took him a full year to get rid of Joe Woods, but you bring in my guy Jim Schwartz. And just like Andy Reid has said, here, Spags, the defense, whatever you do, you do. Right. And he said, I'm gonna focus over here. That's the one thing that Stefanski is smart to allow whatever Jim Schwartz calls and the players that he's brought in. That's your side of and I'm gonna let you do that. So now all he has to do is focus on the offensive play calling, Deshaun Watson, and whatever Schwartz does, he'll live with it. That's what I respect.
It's a terrible spot for a head coach as an offensive coordinator to have to look up and say, "What the hell is the defense doing?"
It's not a good look.
It's a terrible spot.
It's not a good look.
It's not a good look.
Let's get a couple super chats in here before we hit the break. Jarrell Jack, thank you so much for your super chat. Go Blue. Always love seeing Michigan guys play for the Dog Pound. DPJ, Leroy, Braylon Edwards, etc. Browns 28-7. We got another super chat up here, man. The Guards 16 says go Browns, and giving Leroy in here go Blue. And we got one more super chat here. Let's see if we can find it really quick. Y'all got so many comments in here. Appreciate the comments, by the way. 787 people in here strong. Make sure you hit the like button for us. And Park Root gives us a $10 super chat. We appreciate you for your super chat. And we definitely appreciate all of you with your comments in here. We'll come back as well. When we get back, we're going to let you know. Listen, keys to victory. It ain't just regular razzle dazzle. We got to get into X's and O's, talk about keys to victory, and we'll do that coming up next here on the Barbershop pregame show. You're listening to G. Bush. We got my man Leroy, and we got Darren in the building. We'll talk to you real quick on the other side. G. Bush here. I told you I was going to give you an opportunity to win some more merch. I didn't I, man? Don't pay attention to the date because we didn't update that. But you got an opportunity right now. Coming up on Wednesday, we will tell you the 2 winners of the Kool-Aid t-shirt, the Kool-Aid Mafia shirts. We gave 2 away for this week. 2 winners won those. We'll give the names on Wednesday, but you don't care nothing about that. You want to know where you can get your own Kool-Aid Mafia shirt for free. Well, all you got to do, email me at gbush91@hotmail.com. Once again, gbush91@hotmail.com. Put in the subject line, Go Browns, and I will take the top 2 names out of that draw at random, and those 2 individuals will be able to get Kool-Aid Mafia t-shirts, hot and fresh out the press. Don't make sure they're not the imitations. Only where you can get these barbershop joints is Bushline Beauty /barbershop. That's once again bushlinebeauty.com /barbershop. We'll have a link in the description as well. So if you want to be in the drawing, once again, all you got to do, totally free, email me at gbush91@hotmail.com, and you'll put in the subject line, Go Browns, by the end of tonight, by 11:59 tonight, and you'll be in the drawing. We appreciate you, and this is all courtesy of the Barbershop. Well, we right back at you. We got to get to keys to the game. We talked about a lot of different things so far, but I think it's time to get to the nuts and the bolts of what the Browns need to do to come out on top to get a victory against the Pittsburgh Steelers on the road in Monday Night Football. For me, guys, to me, this game comes down to who's going to play to their identity more. I think if the Browns can continue to pressure Kenny Pickett, if they can continue to lock down in the secondary, and if Myles Garrett continues to stop the run and get them in 3rd and long, I think there's an opportunity for the Cleveland Browns to come out on top. And I think this is the game that not only Deshaun Watson proves that he's a big-time quarterback, or a quarterback that is a franchise quarterback. I also think that the Cleveland Browns, by the middle part of the season, people are going to be talking about the Browns as being one of the top 3 defenses with the Cowboys, along with the 49ers and the Eagles as well. I think they got those pieces and parts, and I think they're good enough and have enough depth to do it. I'm anxious to see if they'll carry it and transition that on the road. Leroy, what are your thoughts about what keys to victory for you?
Tomlinson and Elliott. They are the Steelers want to run Najee Harris up the middle, right? They want to drop Kenny Pickett back, right? Mm-hmm. All that's up the middle. If you get pressure up the middle and force them guys out to Zadarius Smith and Myles Garrett, that's just in a standard. That's not if they move them around. Then good luck, because here's what happens. That clock gets shorter. Quarterbacks, I don't care how great a quarterback you are. When you got pressure up the middle, you have a propensity to throw it quicker. You're going to get some action in the secondary, right? But it all starts with stopping Najee Harris. You stop him and put the ball in Kenny Pickett's hands and dare him to beat you. And I think that starts with the 2 guys in the middle. I've watched this team for a few years now. They haven't had the pressure that they've gotten recently up the middle. Whether you got to move Myles Garrett in there, whether you got to move him around a little bit, confuse him a little bit. Because if you put a guy in one position, they're going to be able to go to the sideline, create some kind of blocking scheme for him. You move them around, they can start panicking. And so I want to see that. I want to see the ingenuity of Jim Schwartz. He did a masterful job. That's probably one of the best defensive games you've seen out of the Cleveland Browns in a long time. And it started with the scheme, how they used everybody, and even when they lined up in basic defense, that pressure that they were getting up the middle. And so that's all I want to see. Offensively, just be who you are. Be who you are. Like, Deshaun Watson can make plays. Okay? We know that. I'm not even disputing that. Amari Cooper's out. Somebody else got to step in. Simple as that. You all pros. Make this your moment. There's many pros that made their name when somebody got hurt. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. Quarterbacks, running backs, wide receivers, and that's it. And you go, and when you get an opportunity, step on their throat. Because they're going to hang around if you give them an opportunity.
Darren, what are the keys to victory, offense and defense?
Hey, look, man, I always got X factors for every game. It's talking about Chiefs. Let me tell you this. Seriously, with the Browns, my X factor is going to be Kevin Stefanski. I go back to it. Look, if he puts you have to put the players in position to succeed. perfect example. You look at what the Jets did yesterday. They did their boy a disservice not running the football against the Dallas Cowboys. Zach Wilson looked like the same terrible quarterback that played for him last year, which is why you went and got Aaron Rodgers. For me, if he does the right play calls, obviously everything predicated on the run. For me, I think one of the keys is when I say Stefanski is Deshaun Watson needs, first of all, mentally needs to hit a deep pass to Marquise Goodwin. If he can do that, to me that really opens up the field, because now you got to be worried about him hitting another deep pass down there. So if you focus on that, now you might have 6 or 7 in the box. You can have Chubb run up the middle, and now you can hit from every angle. So that's that. Defensive side of football, man, I really think that fans are going to get a chance to see in the regular season now. Juan Thornhill, look, I've been high on him. Of course, he's from Kansas City. I do think he plays tonight, and he's someone that is a dog that will go after. If a receiver catches the football, he might get his head knocked off, because Juan is that type of player. And look, if you kind of repeat what you did just defensively, having your players move around, that was the only question I didn't get a chance to ask Chris Jones yesterday, just because he was late to the presser, but he got a chance to play on the end along with on the inside. I think what Schwartz has done is show that, again, you don't just have to just line up in a 3 technique, just be just that one player over, over the guard. So if you can move those special players around and let them kind of like Micah Parsons, you can create so much havoc and confusion. And one other thing with that defense is that you saw what kind of problems Joe Burrow had. That's a Super Bowl playing quarterback. Just imagine the damage they can do psychologically to Kenny Pickett in this game. It's so for me, really, the X factors of both the head coach and the DC.
Let me give you one question. Shout out to Darrell Perriman. Shout out to the super chat. We appreciate you. We got somebody in here that I think gifted some memberships as well. Let me make sure I got that. Here we go. Nathaniel Chastain, thank you so much for the $3 super sticker. And we want to make sure we get everybody in here. Let's see. Nathaniel, thank you so much. You also became a UCSS YouTube member. We appreciate everybody out there. But listen, we ain't asking for much. It don't cost nothing to like it. Like it and share. Hit that subscribe button so you make sure you guys get notified of everything going on. When you say really quick, we got about 5 minutes before we head back to break. Let's look down on the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who's a guy on the opposite end of the spectrum that can make the Browns' life a little hectic today? Because they got a couple of guys. T.J. Watt comes to mind. George Pickens could make some plays. Do you think there's anybody else that can really give the Browns some headaches if they're not dialed in today?
Allen Robinson might be able to, muster something up or something up in the game. Other than that, maybe the tight end Pat Freiermuth, I guess. But other than that, I really don't see how they can really do much in tonight's game. It just
they don't have it. They don't. But here's the deal. Here's the thing that Pittsburgh has always done. They do a lot of different things on defense. They move a lot of guys around. They try to trick you into believing it's one thing and not the other. But I think lately they haven't done that because of all the different guys in and out. They're worried about where the guys are going to be where they need to be. And so you might just see some basic stuff with a couple of blitzes here and there. If that is the case, and Deshaun Watson can sit back there and pick them apart, right? And you can have a two-way go. If offense got a two-way go, defense don't have a chance. If they can't stop nothing, right? And basically it works. If you can't stop one thing, you can't stop nothing. So what are you going to take away, right? I think they're going to try to take away the run because the pass has so many more parts to it to make it work. But I do believe that they're in a bit of a pinch right now. T.J. Watt is who he is. He's an all-world player, right? But it's like this. He's not like Myles Garrett, and you can put him inside and move him around because he's too little. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
And if he do that, you know what? I'm Deshaun Watson. I'm like, whoop, whoop. We running right at him, right?
Right.
Put some big bodies on him up inside. So they have to be careful. They don't have the talent to do the things that they've been able to do in the past, especially with Hayward out. Because now you're going to have to try to bring other people to take up that slack. right? You're going to put linebackers in the A-gap or whatever. If you do that, you open yourself up for the big play. So I just want to see the Browns go in there, play a sound game. When they make that mistake, take advantage of it, right? Somebody got to come in for Mark Cooper and make some plays. And, man, I will jump out of my seat if Marquise Goodwin go down the field and they hit him on a deep ball.
That's coming.
It's been a minute.
It's been. I haven't seen a deep throw in a long time, and I haven't. To be honest with you, I haven't seen a game where the Browns have put it together. The last game, I would say they put it together. Offense, defense, special teams is going back to 2020 when they played Tennessee and they jumped on Tennessee early at Tennessee. Right. Also, I thought they played a really good 3.5 quarters against the Cowboys when they was down there and they was running the ball all over the Cowboys down there in Arlington. But today, I want to see, and I don't need to see crazy numbers. I just need to see command, presence, keeping the chains moving, making the plays you're supposed to make, and not giving them nothing. No, don't give them none of that cheap stuff out of bounds, none of that false start stuff. Right. Just crisp, clean play. Because I think actually the Browns are just a superior team, and at this point, especially with Hayward out, and when you're a superior team, you want to get out and leave no doubt, leave no doubt of who gonna win this game.
G. Bush, the biggest thing that I want to see from Watson tonight. It's him not holding on to the football too long to where he's taking unnecessary hits, unnecessary sacks. That's something that we saw in the game last week against the Bengals. And I remember watching you and I think Quincy Carrier talking about it. That's been my biggest issue with Deshaun. It's like you take
he's
too
trying
many
too
sacks.
hard to make a play.
Yeah,
he's trying
you
too
don't
hard.
have to. I mean, and to be honest, like, look, I dealt with it yesterday with Patrick. Like, sometimes just throw the football out, just throw it out of bounds, live to see another down. Sometimes when you do that, you save from making yourself, having a big mishap like an interception or something that could, or a fumble. So I would hope, if anything I see tonight is that he doesn't take any sacks because he's held onto the ball for too long.
Hey, guys, I want to let you know, get your questions ready. Come up in this next segment. We are going to get the question and answers for Darren and Leroy. If you got a question about the game, you got a question in general, maybe a question about the Browns in the past or his playing experiences or Darren, the experience of covering the league, get your questions ready. Make sure you put question in the chat first so I know it's a question and we can get to you guys. And we have another super chat. Jay Boyer says to Leroy, do you think running back number 34 can be used like Eric Metcalf? Defense should score tonight, but tonight Browns 35-15. We'll let Leroy answer that when he get back on the other side, and we'll talk to him and we'll get all his answers. Make sure you get your questions in. You're listening to the Barbershop pregame show. Browns versus Steelers coming up Monday Night Football. We'll come right back on the other side. As always, you know me. You always know what I'm doing. I'm always got merchandise, and I got a lot of stuff to always be talking about. Here's what we got. Shout out to the last 2 giveaway winners, Jameson Meyer and Bowling Green, Derek Downtown Dansby in Cincinnati, Ohio. Barbershop shirt giveaway. Those were the winners last week. We gave you the ways you can win a shirt. Here's the way you can go ahead and purchase a shirt. You can purchase barbershop merchandise at www.bushlinebeauty.com/barbershop. We got these hoodies in gray. We got them in tropical blue ice. We got them in the black, as you can see right here. Hoodies are available, and I told you I would get you guys together. A lot of people hit me up, say, G. Bush, I'm a big fella. I'm a big guy. You got to do something for the big people, man, the big athletic ABBs out here. I said, I got you, man. So we got all new extra sizes right now. So if you're a big guy, we got 3X, we got 4X, we got 5X in the hoodies and the shirts. You can get those out there right now. And you guys are lucky. My business partner, AKA my wife, made me lower the price. She's like, you're doing too much. You're being greedy out here. Stop playing around, G. Bush. So right now, the Kool-Aid hoodie, the Kool-Aid Mafia hoodies is going at a very nice, reasonable rate. Check it out over at bushlinebeauty.com/barbershop. All right, coming on back when we come back. Let's get to some questions and your final predictions here on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. And we're doing the pregame show for the Browns versus Steelers Monday night edition. Let's get to some of your questions out here. There was one back here. Let's see where we at. Let's see. You guys got so many different chats in here, man. You guys have been on y'all killing it. I ain't gonna lie, man. It's up to me to keep up with it. But let's get a question in here. It's crazy. There's like 100 of them. Here we go. Christopher Gillespie, does David Njoku get a touchdown tonight? I think he has a good game tonight. Go Dogs. I'll let you answer that, Darren. What do you think about David Njoku tonight?
Well, I think I have Deshaun Watson for at least one touchdown pass. I mean, I would feel fine with that. I don't know. It just depends on how this defense comes out and guards tonight because, again, with that offense, they should be able to score in any direction. So, yes, is it possible he gets a touchdown tonight? Does he? Yeah, I'm going to go yes.
You go yes? All right.
I'm going to go yes.
Patrick S., we appreciate the super chat. Amari is playing, so Amari Cooper is playing. Leroy, does that change things for you?
Yeah, it does. Here's the thing that I would say about – I don't know. The thing that I would say about Njoku is that the more you stretch the field, the better he's able to do because he can control the middle of the field, right? When you have a lot of the same type of players, so you don't have people that stretch the field. So when Amari Cooper and you run a lot of that middle stuff, that takes a lot of his working area out of it. So if you ever notice, when you got Amari Cooper, you got these crossing routes and all that stuff, Njoku is kind of, they have him doing nothing.
Facts.
What I would say is that I wouldn't be adverse to them taking and putting him outside and see who guard him and just have him run a go route, throw it up and have him go up and get it, right? And use him like that big high point receiver, right? Which they try to do periodically, but mostly in the end zone. But so you kind of have, that's the only thing that makes me worry about. He'll have a big game every now and then, but there's a lot of guys on that offense that do the same stuff. And when you go in the middle of the field, you're going to use Amari Cooper before you use Njoku, right?
Yeah. So
depending on how they guard Amari Cooper or how well he plays if he's playing, right, that'll determine Njoku's success unless they figure out another way to use it.
Yeah, overlapping skill sets is a thing,
right?
Because if you running crossing routes, I want Elijah Moore running that. I want Amari Cooper running that, and so know that's one of the things that they do have a lot of overlap, necessarily with the receivers and pass catchers. Chris P says a question: do you see more of a 5-man rotation at wide receiver room? If Amari doesn't play, he is going to play instead of replace to be situational. Darren, who do you think is going to be? I would say who's the 5th or 6th guy. You got Cedric Tillman is probably one of your choice, or David Bell. Do you think which one of those guys gets more of a look tonight?
Oh Lord,
exactly.
If we go that far down, I mean, I don't know if that's not necessarily a bad thing because you get other players involved. But if you go that far down the chain, I guess I'd say Bell.
Yeah, it's kind of he dropped the ball the other day, and it was kind of it hit him right in the face. I'll give him. Listen, we'll say I was never high on the David Bell. I like speed receivers. I don't like people running same speed as me. I don't like that. I don't like that at all, Leroy. It's just.
Well, I'm down here in Miami, and speed kills.
Yes. These guys, they just keep. They got the A-chain guy. He's fast.
They literally have 5 guys that run 4.3 or under.
4.3,
and they on the field at the same time.
Just and they all out and they be running
they better
around.
Not get Jonathan Taylor. I know that much.
Huh?
I said they better not get Jonathan Taylor. I know.
They don't want him now. Not with Mostert. But here's the deal. You're right from that standpoint. What stretching the field does, see, and I've always said this about football. If a defense only got to cover 30 yards deep but 50 yards wide, and then you make a quarterback throwing them tight windows, you asking for trouble. Now I take a guy and blow the top off. Now you got 50 yards by 50 yards. it seemed like there's more guys that get open. So you need that speed threat on the outside to kind of make these guys pay attention, because those safeties, you put that corner one-on-one and try to keep those safeties in the middle of the field, and one of those fast guys get loose on the outside, right? It's over.
It's done. It's
so
done.
So
done
I think that's one of the things that I would like to see, and whoever can accomplish that, Marquise Goodwin is a burner, right? I would wonder if, they put Njoku out there, if they go after and put a corner out there, right? And just have, see what I'm saying? Yeah. He is, for all the guys they have outside, he is the biggest mismatch.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
I agree with that.
And so find ways to get him single covered or in space where he has a little guy on it. Right? If they take and put a safety out there, right? And take somebody like Marquise Goodwin, put him in the slot, and they try to go out there with a safety, now you're running the football.
Yep.
So it's a cat and mouse game with how you're going to be able to put them in position to do what you want to do. But you got to always have the threat. If you go out there and you line up and you don't ever throw it out there, then they ain't going to pay you no mind.
Let's get to this question. I'll ask, this is for you, Darren, and then the next one's for Leroy. Somebody specifically wants to know about the Browns days. What is the biggest issue Pittsburgh of offense will have dealing with the wide nine from the Browns front?
They can't run it. If you can run the football, right, then those DNs got to come in a little closer. But the fact that nobody's really been able to run it because of who you have in Elliott and who's the other D tackle? Tomlinson, right? Because you have those two guys holding it down inside, it gives you a chance to widen those guys out a little more. If you don't have the DTs in the middle, then you can't play that wide nine because you leave too many holes. So,
Darren,
so that's what it really, the biggest issue they're going to have is controlling those defensive tackles so that wide nine doesn't matter.
In terms of the wide nine, Darren, do you like that? I think San Francisco moved to it a little bit. You see it a little in an NFC with the Eagles a little bit. How do you feel about the wide nine, and what type of personnel do you think you got to play for it to be successful?
Well, first of all, look, that's more of a Leroy question than it is for me. But I'll say this: I mean, I think you putting it out there based on who's at your quarterback, who's heading the quarterback. Because if you got a quarterback that can get the ball out quickly, I don't think that wide nine is going to be an issue because they can just dip it out. If you have enough weapons, it doesn't matter if if they're wide or not. If I got somebody if I got a running back, I can throw it to in the flat, or a tight end, I can get right there in the hole and find you a hole. It's all good.
Case in point, I don't know if y'all watched the game. I know, Louis, you probably did. I thought yesterday Tua did he did a real nice job showing how difficult it can be if you are playing a wide nine and he getting rid of the ball fast. I think Tua against New England was getting they was running a tight end wheel route and running different route combinations off that, multiple dudes moving in motion. I'm like, is this a CFL? Is you allowed even doing that?
It's constant movement with them, man. But here's the thing. And here's what I always wondered about this. If you run a wide nine and your quarterback ain't 6'5", you creating a window for him to throw the ball.
If you look at it, because that defensive end is almost in the stand.
Right. So all the quarterback got to do is step up, especially if you ain't getting no pressure up the middle.
Yeah, you got to have pressure in the middle. You just got to. We have about 5 minutes left here before I'm going to read this last question, and we're going to get to the predictions for you guys as well. Do players feel a rivalry or primetime game as much as fans do, or is it just business or as casual or business as usual? Sorry.
Yeah, they feel that.
MPC. I'll tell you like this. You think you fired up? You got guys that are losing their damn mind in the locker room to get out. You got coaches got to calm you down and get your mind back on football. You fired up. It's prime time football. You sit there, you in the locker room going, ooh, my mama and them gonna see me. I'm gonna go out here and ball. Right? But yeah, we feel the heat. We feel the heat and the pressure and the excitement of all the fans, right? When the bus go up to the game and there's tailgaters that been out there before you cooking up some stuff, yelling at the bus. We feel it. We feel it. The best thing that could happen when you got that pent up energy is for the game to start. You more, believe it or not, you are more fired up before the game for the national anthem. Then when that first kickoff and you start playing offense, then you settle down, right? And then you get in the game mode. But before then, you got it, like, you get up in the morning, it's a night game, you're sitting around all day, you've been talking all week about Pittsburgh this and Pittsburgh that, and they ain't gonna go 0-2, and you done played one of the most dominant games you done played in the wild last week, and you thinking, what about us? Oh yeah, you fired up. Y'all ain't gonna never get as fired up as the players, but we do appreciate it. It makes it fun.
90 seconds apiece here. I'm gonna go to you, Darren. What's your final prediction for the game? Who comes out and win? And give me a score.
I've got Cleveland. Look, for me, what's going to be key in this game is Deshaun Watson and his play, especially if he can throw two or three touchdowns, or maybe run for one, and the score is gets increasingly in favor in Cleveland. That's going to force ABC and those announcers to talk all about Deshaun Watson in Cleveland. So for me, yeah, I'm gonna be sitting back. Once I get through with my show, I got to do in a half hour from now.
Waiting to hear it.
I'm just gonna be sitting back just like, ooh, where's the popcorn? So I got them. I do have them winning. I think it can be a game like 31-6. I mean, I really, to me, if Pittsburgh scores a touchdown, I'll be disappointed in that defense.
Here's what I got. I got receipts.
You got receipts.
Got the receipts, baby.
I would say just from the sheer method in which this game is played, it's never really usually a big blowout. Yeah. But I think the Browns are dominating. I'm gonna say 27-14, something like that. And the only thing, it could be 27-6 because they might not score in the red zone, but they're gonna get there a couple of times. And I can't tell you, when was the last time you saw a Pittsburgh offense and not have any confidence in anything that they do?
It's been
It's been a while. So I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt a little bit, but I do think that I don't think they've seen this version of the Browns in a long time.
And the national media will not know how to talk about Cleveland after tonight, especially
and
they went big.
I'm loving them new uniforms.
Oh, so listen, the unis is crazy. Hey, listen, I gotta figure out a way to get in one of them locker rooms and give me one of them doggone helmets, man. I'll tell you what, man. My prediction is, listen, this ain't the old Browns. Deshaun Watson gonna have a heck of a game. Steelers ain't got nothing for him. You get to know Myles Garrett in the backfield; he'll be there. I got the Cleveland Browns winning this game 31-10, and it's going away with it. And it was worse than that. It actually was worse than that. And I'm with you too. I want them to get up where it's looking bad and they pouring the gravy on them and they really doing them dirty and they got to go and say, well, it's about time to talk about Deshaun Watson, ain't it? And with that being said, we want to thank everybody for watching. Make sure you check out the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Like and subscribe. Darren, thank you so much. Leroy, thank you, brother, so much for just stepping on me. And for all of the people out there, well, let's go Browns on 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Let's go Browns. Yes, sir.